Okay, we're live. Yeah, I was just about to pick. I was just about to pick up the camera to show you the camera, but like that's just fucking stupid. I still keep doing it. I keep reaching out. I keep reaching out to pick it up to be like, I'll just show it to her, but it's like obviously you can't see it. I got a camera for to bring to Madison with me, and usually I just use this. Usually I just use like a webcam. For this. I can show you that. But I've connected up, so like it looks it looks like way better quality on my end. But the only place I can't think of anywhere to put it. Like the webcam goes in a natural position on top of the computer screen, and it's almost like you're making eye contact, but not quite. But this is like the only way I can get it in a normal place is like directly in front of the screen, which means I can't see. Like I can't see you. Maybe I just move it around a bit. Oh, now I can see it. That's a bit better. That's okay, isn't it? That doesn't look weird. It's a bit
It's fine. You can't get like a mount or something?
It's on I nearly fucking picked it up to show it to you. It's on a tripod.
Oh, okay.
It's on a tripod. I'll send you a picture of it. It's on a tripod on 3 Ben Bergeron books, Tia's book, and Shoe Dog. It's propped up on all of them. But it's I bought a gimbal, like a handle thing, and then there's like buttons on it. But I charged it and I turned it on today, and I realized it's broken. Like I bought it. I just DM'd you a picture of it there. I bought it, and it didn't work from purchase. So I just have like a plastic stick that's like on the bottom of the camera. But I don't think it'll be much of an issue anyway.
Oh, it's like perfectly covering my face.
Yeah, now I can actually see, so I can see chin up.
Okay,
from my eyesight angle, I can see chin up.
That's the best angle of me anyway.
Yeah,
so.
that's the way to do it. So this could be a failed experiment. Having tried it, I might just revert.
The quality looks great though.
It is really good. Like, but then it's like, all the wrinkles. Like you kind of see everything. Like can't see the webcam doesn't pick that up. Yeah, you could plant potatoes in there. So I'm excited to talk to you. I'd have you pegged as kind of an anomaly in the modern CrossFit coaching landscape.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Like hang on, I think I had the wrong mic selected. Someone just messaged in. Is that better, Teddy? Maybe you can tell me if that's better. Where, like, what do you think I mean by that?
I don't think that many people know who I am, which is fine with me.
That's deliberate.
Sorry?
Is that deliberate?
No, not at all. But I wouldn't say like I don't really post that much stuff on social media. I don't really go on that many interviews. Oh, I'm also not asked to. And I would say, generally speaking, Training Think Tank probably as an organization doesn't get as much publicity as other organizations, and their coaches aren't featured as much on not only our internal media, but like third-party media like Buttery Bros and Talking Elite Fitness and stuff like that, which I think is a blessing and a curse sometimes. I think that it allows us to stay focused on our coaching and our athletes without distractions or potential outside pressure of like our responsibility as a coach to make sure our athletes are successful. But at the same time, I think that a lot of people probably don't know who we represent, what we do, and that can sometimes maybe be a detriment to like reaching more people, a bigger audience.
Were you reluctant to do this or anything?
No, not at all. I don't mind things like this. I mean, most of the podcasts I've done have been internal and Training Think Tank, and I don't go on them too often. I just kind of hop on when I'm asked, but I don't mind it at all. I think I think it's good as a representation, like I said, of the organization. And then, if you want to talk about females in coaching CrossFit, there's not that many that coach athletes, at least at the high level that I'm aware of. So, as far as, representing females in coaching, I would say that's something that's also important to me.
Yeah. Um, that's that's kind of maybe a tricky line to walk as well. Is it like if you want to represent you, or if it's important to you to be a female in coaching and to represent female coaches and to show, I suppose, like budding female coaches that it's a possible career path or whatever. But then also you don't want tokenism, or you don't want like being highlighted just because of, you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, like I really only address that when somebody brings it up to me. I don't necessarily think of myself as a female or a minority coach. I just think of myself as a coach that
Yeah.
happens to be a female and a minority. But at the same time, I realize that can inspire people, right? You talk about Tiger Woods, you know, being a person of color that has been an icon in golf and inspired a lot of younger athletes who have come up and become pro and said, I decided that I could be a professional golfer because I saw he could do it. So
Mm.
I actually did a study and created a presentation in my mentorship with Max, which is actually how I got this job. That was the topic was females in coaching. So there's been research done more on the university level of the reason why female coaches don't kind of ascend to the professional level for various reasons. And some of those were um, like they kind of get to the top and then they have to have a family or they side of a family and they can't keep up with the requirements of the job, simply put, right? Like traveling and things like that. And some of it is some bureaucratic stuff if you're like NCAA type things, and other things are just probably confidence.
Mm. I think I saw recently there's a female coach being appointed to a men's football team. It's going to be the first, I think it's a league club. I think it's, or else it's like just a non-league club in the UK. Um, and like your mind straight away, well, my mind straight away went to like dressing room dynamic.
Yeah,
Like, like 15 guys and then a female coach. I was like, it's like an uphill challenge to earn respect there or like, like I feel like a male coach, um, who has a similar level of achievement as that female coach going in is going to instantly have benefit of the doubt, I guess, or like, like that kind of thing. I think CrossFit's a bit different from that though, because a lot of it is like, um, outside of affiliate coaching, I guess a lot of it is like one-on-one or small group or whatever with the elites. So probably eradicates that need to you. I guess you have to build trust, but you're not starting from a deficit, I guess.
for sure. Yeah, it's interesting though, like nobody questions a male coach coaching an all-female team. Like
Yeah,
nobody thinks that's weird, but the other way around does, like you kind of think twice, like you said. Um, but there have been a lot more female, like you said, it's culturally now it's like a thing, right? It's an announcement on ESPN and
yeah.
social media or
Like
whatever,
there
right?
was a female lines person or lines woman, lines
Yeah.
man, lines woman, and like there was so many fucking articles written about it. It was like it was just unnecessary. Like I get it that it's like, wow, this hasn't happened before, but then it's just like, wow, this hasn't happened before, and then move on instead of like,
Yeah,
wow, this hasn't happened before. Strap yourself in for 5 weeks of coverage of like how this is going.
I know. I know. Yeah, I definitely have mixed feelings about it sometimes because I think it's important, like 100%. And I think it's important to have equal opportunity, but at the end of the day, like ultimately who's best fit for the job is what's the important part. Like, are you qualified? Do you have experience? And um, like in different sports, like football, for instance, I've seen more female strength and conditioning coaches. Um, like I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Patrick Mahomes or somebody fairly recently with a very high profile athlete was their strength and conditioning coach, and because he had a bunch of high ankle sprains and stuff, and I want to say he had somebody who was female who got him back on the field, and um, I think the visibility definitely creates more opportunity and awareness that it's possible for that to happen, because just in the past historically just it just was all males in the field.
Mm.
So I think it's a good thing. But yeah, I definitely walk a fine line of being like, do we make it a thing that we have to just jam down people's throats versus like, can people just do a really good job and have equal opportunity for these positions?
Yeah, and it's also like it like kind of walks the line of clickbaity as well, where it's like,
Exactly.
oh, this will get people commenting. Like this will get people who hate this commenting, and it'll get people who love this commenting, and then they can have a war in the middle, and then it'll just be all engagement. That's just great.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's interesting as well. Like I was talking to my wife about this the other day, where I can't remember what job it was, but I applied for a job. It wasn't like I'm a teacher now. It wasn't teaching, but I don't know what it was. But it was like um, on the application form, and it was multiple times and different things. And it was like, we were an equal opportunities employer was like the line, and then it was like as part of that, like please fill in this survey basically. And it was like you had to put in like your gender, your religion, your skin color, your there was something else. Can't remember the other thing. Oh, your sexuality, and there was something else as well. And I was like, if you're an equal opportunities employer, do you not like not ask these questions? Like, are you not
No.
proving that you're not an equal opportunities employer by being like, oh, he's white, no, we have too many white people, like, or like, oh, he's straight, no, we don't need that. Like it's such an oxymoron of it's
Yes.
just baffling, like.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, I mean, I definitely go back and forth with it. It seems a bit hypocritical at times, but at
Mm,
like it large companies have, really taken a lot of heat in the media. Like I'm listening to an audiobook right now. It's the runner Kara Goucher's like autobiography. And she talks about all the stuff that happened at Nike and the Oregon Project. And one thing that she pointed out was like there was just really no female coaches available at all. Like they
mm,
just didn't even exist. And how, maybe theoretically, if there was somebody she could confide in and felt comfortable with, maybe she would have come out with some of the stuff that she kind of kept under wraps for a long time because she didn't feel like she could talk to anybody about it. But so, I do think those things can make a difference. And I know some female athletes that are looking for female coaches. And, but like my clients, I think have always really been 50-50. Like it
mm.
doesn't, I don't think it's mattered too much from my end at least, but
Yeah, I wasn't intending on starting the show with that.
yeah, I think I
um,
did that.
um, Yeah, I was looking at your games page. You've been doing CrossFit like a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I started in 2010. I'm gonna turn 37 in November, and like I often forget how long I've been doing this actually.
You look great for
It
37, or well, it's
Oh,
36.
thank you. I
I
feel
would
like
not have had you pegged at 36 at all. I was like, oh, she's
I
about I thought you were about like 10 years younger than me. I'm 34. I thought you were
no,
like 24, 25. Until I saw your
oh.
games page, then I was like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I've been a master's for 2 years, which is it's weird for me to think about that too, but I'll attribute that to my genetics, I guess.
Yeah. Did you struggle with moving into masters, like as in like emotionally or mentally? Were you like, oh man, this is seminal?
It was a little bit strange, but I think I've been removed from the competitive side of the sport for so long, like, it didn't matter too much. I did a master's qualifier last year just to kind of see where I was at, and I decided not to do it this year because my training just didn't support the ability to feel like I could give a good effort, but, Yeah, I think I'm moving into an acceptance stage, but it's still strange. Like thinking about that I'm closer to 40 than I am 30 is a bit freaky.
Yeah. I was it last year? I can't remember when, but it was like we're now closer to the year 2050 than we are to, I can't remember what it was. We're closer to 2050 than we are to 1999 or something. And I was like, what? It's like 1999 was like 3 years ago, wasn't it?
I know, right?
Um, so how did you come across? Were you doing weightlifting first and then CrossFit, or vice versa?
Vice versa. I actually had a similar-ish story to Max where my undergraduate degree was in business and economics, and my whole career was I thought I was wanted to work on Wall Street or something in the business field. I grew up like lower middle class. My parents didn't have a lot of money, and I was like, I never want to rely on anybody else for financial reasons. So, and I like business; it was interesting. So I worked for a private trading firm for 5 years, and in that period of time, I was looking for some type of competitive outlet. So I'd ran track in college, tried to do some like half marathons, and then I was just super bored. And one of my college roommates who was on my track team was doing not exactly CrossFit, some kettlebell stuff. So I looked up the closest gym to my work and found a CrossFit gym and checked it out in 2010. And I was like pretty hooked from the beginning. I was terrible, but I was fit enough that I think I acquired the skills fast. That I was like, okay, I want to compete in this. So I worked. I started coaching part time in CrossFit classes, and I worked at my trading firm, and I also worked for the Philadelphia Phillies for a few years as a ball girl. So I was working like three jobs,
What was
and I
that
was
last job you said?
um, I was a ball girl for the Philadelphia Phillies, which is a baseball team.
What's that like?
Um,
Is that like a tennis ball girl? No, can't be.
it's
There's no
ba-
net.
no, no. So baseball, so like some organizations have ball girls or ball boys where you sit on the sidelines and you
Oh, and
field
if there's a
foul
ball
balls.
missing or whatever, okay.
Yeah, yeah. It was a super fun job actually.
It sounds like a volunteer job. Is that not a job you get kids to do or something? Where you like
I
kids do
actually
like,
well, you have to have there's tryouts, like,
wow.
because they'll hit that ball,
Oh yeah,
like, they can hit it straight at your face. Yeah.
yeah. Fair. It's like, yeah, that's why they don't use kids.
Yes,
It's like
exactly.
four children died today, but the
Yeah.
Philadelphia they won, so it's great.
Yeah. No, it was, yeah, it was fun. We did more than that. We did, like, a bunch of, charity things with the players and
Yeah.
outside of the organization and stuff, and we actually did get paid. It wasn't a lot, but it was a little bit, so,
What was
um
so your job is trading stocks? Was that lucrative?
I was in operations, so I was like the support for the traders. So they
Okay.
did the trades and I did reconciliation of all of their P&Ls, profit and loss statements, and it was the back end stuff. It was super
Yeah.
boring. So
I was
it
gonna say
wasn't
when you were like, I needed a competitive outlet, I was like, surely that's a competitive environment. But then if you were kind of supportive of what you're kind of, it's kind of a similar role to what you're in now, where you're like putting people out
yeah.
to do the competitive thing, and then they're coming back to you, and you're like, well, how did that go?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't, it really was pretty boring, and I sat at a desk from about 7 a.m. till 5 or 6 p.m. Like, the company was very generous where they catered your breakfast, they catered your lunch, but that was because they wanted you to sit at your desk through lunch. Like, there was
Right.
no break. You're just working all the time, and, um, there's, like, month-end stuff, so every few months you have to stay on the weekends, and, um it was a very good company and it was a good starting job, but I was just like the lifestyle was not what I wanted. Like it was not enjoyable. So I had an opportunity to work for my friend's gym. So I just ended up quitting my job and kind of doing a management slash full-time coaching role so that I could compete in the sport. And my goal was to qualify for regionals. That's how old I am. Those regionals still existed. So yeah, I did regionals, team 2012, individual 2013, team 2014, team 2018, and then between those periods of time, I switched to weightlifting for a bit because I just wanted a break from CrossFit, and it was a bit more conducive to my strengths, it being a weight class sport. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, was there like, did something happen that made you think, oh, I should double down on this? Like, was there like a comparison you made yourself to someone else, or something you saw in yourself, or whatever? Or was it just like, oh, I'm actually okay at this, and you just kind of, did it just kind of snowball, or was there like a kind of seismic moment?
Are you talking about athletically or
Yeah,
coaching?
like deciding that you wanted to compete, or just like, because a lot of people go to a CrossFit gym, and you know, a lot of people, including myself, at one time were like, "Oh, this is fun. I wonder what it's like to do a competition." But that competition isn't regionals. It's like, some little Tom, Dick, and Harry thing down like 5 miles away. But you obviously set your sights a bit higher pretty early on. Like, so was it just innate, like competitive thing, or what was it?
I think that was probably a large part of it. I would consider myself a tomboy growing up. Like in elementary school, all the girls would be playing with their books, and I'd be playing soccer with the boys every single day. And I played a lot of different sports all the way through high school into college. And I just always liked competing and playing sports. I was never really the best at anything. I was usually with some of the best, right? So like my goal in CrossFit was never really to get to the games, but I wanted to get to the highest level that I thought would be challenging for me, but something achievable. And at that time, I did feel like I could, like, getting to regionals is like my games. And I was able to do that multiple times. But I think part of that was a natural inclination to, acquire skills relatively quickly. Um, but I also just consider myself like a more of a jack of all trades type athlete, and I think that's also helped my coaching. Like I really enjoy knowing a lot about many different things than necessarily specializing in one thing and going all in. And I think the sport of CrossFit was very attractive in that way, where um, it wasn't just about being good at one thing. It was about trying to be as well rounded as possible. And I felt that was interesting and play to my strengths. So
Um, how did the how did your family react to you saying like, "Oh, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to coach instead"?
my family's always been like super supportive of whatever I've done. Like I'm a pretty independent person who always just kind of did whatever they wanted. So yeah, I mean, my family is awesome. Like even moving down here when I took this job, like they were, sad that I wouldn't be around. I have a pretty big family. I have 7 siblings now, and a few step parents, and they all, except for recently, live around the same area, and so that was a big change. But they know that when I set my mind to something that I'm probably going to do it, and they've always been super supportive.
You were home recently, weren't you?
Yeah, yep. I want to say popped up to Philly is like a quick 12-hour drive, but my fiance is a marine engineer, and he stepped away from that career for a bit to focus on CrossFit, but he just picked up a job in Philadelphia on a ship. So I visited him, and I visited my family, which they live out in the suburbs, because the team was like on a deload, and people were taking a little bit of break. So it's like an opportunity to go see everybody a few weeks out before the game. So it was nice.
What's his name?
Chris Konjeski.
Okay. And when you said to focus on CrossFit, is he had like competitive aspirations?
Yeah, so he was on the TTT games team last year.
Okay.
He just missed out on semifinals this year. That was his goal, to try the individual route, and forget where he finished, maybe 70th something, maybe low 80s. So yeah, I mean, the shipping industry is not very kind to training for CrossFit because you're physically on a ship sailing for 1 to 2 months at a time, and then you're home for 1 to 2 months at a time, which the home part's nice, but when you're on a ship, like not a lot of them have too much equipment. Certainly not set up for what we do in CrossFit. So he had a few years back, he had a ship where he was actually able to like weld pull-up bars and bring his own equipment on. And I mean, he's done some pretty cool stuff. Like he snatched 265 in like the basement of a ship while it's like rocking back and forth on a piece of plywood. Um, but yeah, I actually met him in 2016 and 2017 we started dating, but I was his coach, and so that's how we started our relationship as coach athlete, and then it is still coach athlete, but now different.
You just get to tell him what to do in the gym and at home now. So it's just
Yeah.
you've got extra time. And has he been doing those kind of shift works like since you got engaged? Is it like has he been home for a while? Is this his first time away for a while?
This is his first time back to shipping in a while. He took
Okay.
about um a year and a half off, I would say, maybe, and tried some other things ashore, which it just means normal land.
Like the rest of us.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think this trip will be kind of the nail in the coffin of like, I think there's confirmation he doesn't want to stay in engineering, and we got to figure out a different path. But um, it's a good job, like for, health insurance and monetary reasons, but it's just not very fulfilling to him. So, yeah, we'll see what's next for him.
I mean, if he's welding pull-up bars together on a ship, he could probably, although Rogue kind of has the market corner there, I suppose. I'm sure he could figure something out.
Yeah.
So how long will he be gone for now? Will you see him? Is it like end of September then?
No, I think he probably is finished around August 4th. So
Oh, that's not too bad.
no, it's not too bad.
He's
For
away
him,
when you're going to be swamped anyway. Like this is
yes.
like your busiest time of year, so it's like you
Yeah,
probably wouldn't see much of him anyway.
exactly.
Okay, so then think tank. So you kind of mentioned it earlier on. You did I nearly said apprenticeship. What's the word I'm looking for?
Mentorship.
Mentorship. With Max. Did you just see that advertised or something?
Yeah, I actually, one of my really good friends who actually has passed away now, he was like a huge fan of Max, like probably one of his biggest fans. And he actually told me about it. This was during COVID. And by the time I reached out to Max, the deadline that he had set was actually over. And I was like, I'm probably
Great
not going to
start.
make it. Yeah. It's like,
Hi, sorry I'm late before I even work with you.
yeah. I mean, I didn't do it with intentions of a job. I just
Yeah.
did it as an opportunity to learn from him, and so luckily he, included me in the mentorship. I think it was only maybe 12 of us. I can't remember exactly. And Max didn't have much structure. Yeah, I think he had some extra time, to be occupied during COVID, and but it was a great opportunity to learn from him and meet other coaches in like that were some of them were clients of TTT, but just other coaches, and some of them or one of them I work with now and actually coach, Kyle Habdo. And yeah, after it was over, I think maybe like a month later, he texted me and said, would you ask if I would be interested in relocating and working for a training think tank?
That must be pretty cool though, because that's like a big, like that's whatever the next step up from a pat on the back. That's like a punch in the ribs, or no, that's negative. It's like I don't know what it is, but it's like a big deal to. I assume that's part of the reason, maybe in his eyes, that he was kind of thinking of doing it was like worst case scenario, I help 12, 15, however many people. Best case scenario, I spot a diamond that I can like polish up and bring like I was gonna say keep for myself, but like bring in to improve things. But that must be really cool. But then also, if you've been working in that gym for a while, if you live there and shit, it's probably like, was it an arduous decision or was it a no brainer?
The hard part was getting Chris on board, which he was hesitant to move. But luckily, like he was shipping at the time, and his company just flies you to the ship. So he doesn't have a home base. He can live anywhere in the country. So he didn't have to get a new job, and I think that would have been very difficult if
Mm.
that was the case. But um, he has admitted since that he is very happy here, and it's opened up doors for him. So it really all worked out. But at the time, I was like coming down here, I was like extremely intimidated. I mean, I still think there's times where I feel a bit of imposter syndrome, but especially like my first visit, I had to create a presentation for all the staff, and I was like shitting bricks. I was like,
Oh my God,
these
that is
guys,
worst.
like
Fucking
these
hell.
guys are so smart. Like I listened to
But
all the
anything like
podcasts.
that is like just
Yeah.
fucking kill me. Like I remember, like the job that I do. This is it's on a much more minor scale, but like I remember hearing about it. So, like in Ireland, all like most of the schools are Catholic denominational schools, so they're ran by the church, and there's like a priest and board of management and stuff. And you have to teach religion, like Catholicism, as part of the curriculum or whatever, for like half an hour a day. And then these like educate together schools started opening up, where it's like non-denominational, and it's like you learn about all faiths or whatever as religion, but everything else is exactly the same, except they call you by your first name. The kids do. Um, so I was like, oh, I'm not really that into religion. Like, I wouldn't, that kind of sounds all right. So someone told me though, like, oh, they make you do a presentation in your interview. And I was like, bullshit. Like, there's no way that they make you do that, because that's fucking nonsense. But yeah, they do. And like loads of people did. I'm quite good at thinking on my feet and like just bullshitting my way through things. But like loads of people brought in laptops and did like presentations and stuff. And they gave you, so they called you for the interview and said, okay, your interview's the whatever 5th of June, and they'd tell you this on like the, I don't know, 20th of May, and they'd say your presentation is going to be on X. So I think mine was on like inclusion or something. Um, and I went, like, I had work. I was working there at the time, like subbing or doing like local work or whatever. And people were like, "Oh, what are you going to do your presentation on?" This is like the day of. I was like, "I don't know. I haven't really thought about it yet." Like other people were like, what's that fancy online PowerPoint thing that does loads of like zhuji, like like it zooms in and moves to the next slide instead of just like swiping across.
I
Um,
know.
but they were all like going way over the top. But I just brought in I think I found like ribbons or something in the storeroom, in the PE storeroom. And I gave two of them a red ribbon and one of them a blue ribbon. And I just basically treated the person with a blue ribbon like shit for like 5 minutes. And then I was like, talk to them about inclusion or whatever. And they were like, "Oh, that was really good." Like, and I was like, I just thought about it. Like, I didn't say this out loud, obviously. I was like, I literally thought of that outside the door like 10 minutes ago. But anything, if I hear the word presentation, I was like, ugh, and I just want to puke in my mouth. It's awful. And then as well, because you're moving, it's worse. Because you don't know them, it's worse. Because they're like successful and like a known entity, it's worse. So like there's very few positives about going into a presentation like your one.
I think, I mean, I just remember presentations in school, like exactly what you said. I think the very cookie cutter presentations, like everybody just doing the same, saying the
Yeah.
same shit in different ways is like it's not very memorable. So for you, like the ribbon thing is like something that they probably it sticks out and it's very simple, but like it gets the job done. And even podcasts, like even me thinking about this conversation, and obviously we didn't really chat too much about what we were going to talk about, but I've listened to some of your podcasts and I've enjoyed them because I feel like
Oh,
they're
and you still agreed to do it.
yeah. No, because it's a conversation. It's like we would have a conversation if we just went out to get something to eat versus the ones that are very polished and you feel like you have to be politically correct all the time. They don't
Yeah.
interest me. They
See,
feel
I think as well it's
disingenuous.
that because like I think you end up doing what you would, like someone told me really early doors, like just make what you'd like, and then you'll find other people, like you don't have that unique a taste that nobody else will like it. So like like other people will find it or gravitate towards it or whatever. And I can't stand those questions where it's like almost like the person has written out like 50 questions, like one, right, I need to ask them this, and then like no follow up, no like like no meandering, no tangents, just like what was number two again? Like just moving, like just like so I don't know, medicinal or something, where it's just like prescriptive. Um, what was your presentation on? Can you remember?
Oh my god. Um
Wait, did
I
you say it
think
was on females in sport? No, that was something
no,
different.
that was the mentorship. I think
Okay.
it was on actually, it was on the scoring system. I think it was on I presented like a different model for a different scoring system for the sport. And interestingly, that topic I started discussing with this comes full circle with Tyler Watkins
Yeah, Z
because
score.
I was at a camp and I was like telling him what my presentation was, and he was like, "Oh, I that's like I've been doing research for that." And his fiance, or now his fiance, was like PhD in mathematics, and then fast forward, right? He's the Z score guy.
He must have collapsed when you said that to him. Because like, oh, I'd say he was like, "This is Mecca." He's like, "I've made it." He must have been so happy that someone else brought it up. Just casually was like, "Oh, actually, I started doing essentially this thing that you're like obsessed with."
I know, but like what I presented versus probably how he understood the topic is like night and day, right? Like mine was all just theoretical and not specific at all. And
Yeah.
he obviously has gone way more into the weeds there.
I love like I'm in a group chat. There's a few of us in a group chat, and I love anytime he or anyone brings up Z score. I just always reply, "What's Z score?" Like just every time because I know it's gonna kill him. Like even if he doesn't say it, like it's just like a little. It's like a little paper cut because he doesn't like. I think he doesn't know if I'm serious or not serious. Like one time someone told me. Like someone replied and said, "It's a scoring system." I was like, "No, I fucking know what it is." It's like I'm just trying to annoy him. Um, so, what year was that you started? Like, say, post mentorship.
So I officially started and moved here in the beginning of 2021. So that
Okay.
like presentation was like fall of 2020. Yeah.
Um. So, did you move during COVID then?
I mean, COVID existed in Georgia for 3 weeks, it sounds like. So um I don't know. I don't when did COVID end?
I don't know when the news stopped talking about it. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's yeah. I guess it dragged on a bit here. We had like lockdowns and shit. Like, you guys didn't really have much of that, I suppose, where you were. Um. So, can you remember like the first time? So you're obviously a fan of the sport as well. Like you compete in it, but you obviously watch it and enjoy it and stuff, and you know who people are. And Think Tank is based in Travis Mayer's affiliate, like kind of in the back of it, isn't it? Like a little like
Yeah,
build off or whatever.
we basically share the space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So can you remember like that feeling of like walking in and being like, oh shit, there's Travis Mayer, or like, oh shit, there's like the people that you would have heard of, or can you remember like say the first camp when like Noah and everyone was around? Was that intimidating, or were you kind of prepared for that?
I don't feel like I've ever really gotten starstruck by
Yeah,
people, but I will say my first open, um, I wasn't sure if they were hazing me. I don't think they were. I think it was just coincidental, but they had me judge Noah on the wall walk double under workout, and wall walks had just came out,
yeah,
and I was like having an internal panic attack because I've never counted double unders that fast, right? And I may have missed like the first one of a round, and then the wall walk was a new movement, and he was going so quickly, like I like just counted his reps and was like, I have no idea if these are good or not. And I remember that was like scary. I was like, did I mess this up? And I don't remember if he actually ended up having to redo that workout. I think a lot of people did because they didn't uphold the standard of
hand moved or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. But I like physically couldn't see it. Like my eyes have never watched somebody move that quickly, and
yeah,
I was expecting it to some degree, but also like in awe. So that I would say that was intimidating. I didn't want to make a mistake for an athlete that was such high profile, but I wouldn't say like I think I mean I'm obviously very used to it now, but these games athletes are just people. Like they're
just really,
phenomenal.
really, really, really fit people.
Yeah, but I mean like they breathe the same, they eat the same, they sleep the same, they have, successes and failures and all that stuff. Like it's no different than any other athlete. It's just there's higher stakes.
Yeah. Is there a camp on there now?
I wouldn't say a camp. Last week was kind of because last week was 2 weeks out from the game, so we kind of had a more
A
intense
dry
week.
run kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So Sam Stort's team, Mia Heskett's team, Walleye is here because Max coaches Sam, and so we had the TTT team and the Walleye team doing some stuff head to head, and then also just some training for fun. Um, and we'll continue a little bit of that this week, not as much as we're starting to kind of taper down.
Hmm. Is this kind of like this period of time, say, because you're coaching the TTT Black, right?
Yes.
And then who else? Bethany.
Yeah, Bethany.
And you helped. You were like involved. Maybe you weren't. I saw pictures of you with Sam in 2021, like at the games and stuff. Were you kind of just helping?
Yeah, 2021. Yeah, I mean, Sam was here for a longer stint before training, and I think, I mean, technically, I took his coach's pass, but that
Yeah.
was more so like to have, for him to have somebody there. I wouldn't really say I coached him there, and unfortunately, he also had a very short games because of an injury. But Sam has stayed with me, I think, twice now for on visits, like stayed in my house.
Oh, cool.
So he's a great guy, and we've developed a nice relationship. He's always fun to have around.
You don't have to say that because I'm Irish as well. You can just tell the truth.
No, I swear.
Everyone here knows what he's really like.
I mean, I know what he's really like.
Yeah, he doesn't hide it much.
No, he doesn't.
You just have to keep brushed up on like pop culture references, Simpsons quotes. You just have to have like a constant refresh before you meet him. Okay, that's cool. So they're there, and then TTT Black, and then that's interesting as well because they're obviously direct competitors with each other. Like those two teams, are they
Yeah.
like staring at each other across the room, being like "fuck you, man"?
I don't think so. I feel like everyone's gotten along on
Yeah,
pretty well. Like Mia and Josh and Antonia and Sam, like they're just great people, like very, very laid back. And everyone has been awesome, like working together and helping each other out and cheering for each other. So I think it's honestly been the best possible scenario. And it's been awesome to have another team here. Like you don't get that often. Like how often do teams train together?
yeah, that's fair.
Right?
Unless there's like an Invictus scenario. With tell me who's on the TTT Black, and I want to hear. The reason I'm asking, I know who's on it, but I want to hear you say the names because I feel like this might be the most American sounding name team I've ever heard.
Probably. Jordan Adcock.
Right there, straight away, we're in like hitting it hard straight away. Okay.
Hannah Hardy.
Yeah. Keep it rolling.
Mike Needleman.
Yeah.
And Tanner Balaz, I believe it's pronounced.
Tanner, right? So like a real hard hit on the last name because like I'm covering the teams for Be Friendly, and I was like, going through the roster, and you have to fill in the names. Well, you didn't have to, I suppose, but I filled in the names of each person on each team, and I made like 4 mistakes out of whatever 38 because everyone puts the full 6 on the website, like on the game site, so you can't get it from there. So then you have to go to like they're like, hey, we made it post and see who's tagged in it. And then oftentimes people tagged all 6. So you're like, fuck's sake. Or they tagged 5 of the 6. So and they tagged people on people. So you're like, well, that name is on that person. Does that mean that's that person? Then you're going into their page. No, it's not that person. But when I was writing out their names, I wrote out like, I think I wrote out Tanner's name first. And I was like, wow, that's an American name. And then the next one, I was like, "Oh, we're keeping it going." I was like, "Is this how they met? Were they at some kind of group?" And then they were like, "Let's form a team together." What's it like? So you've done you coached like Sarah last year, Bethany this year, a team. Like, is it vastly different coaching a team than an individual? Like, are you? Because I feel like you're kind of. I'm trying to think of what the word is, and there is a word for it, and people often use it to describe Max as well. Of someone who's like, someone who thinks a lot about stuff and doesn't just let stuff go past. I feel like I can't imagine. I'm never going to think the word. I can't imagine you working with, say, Bethany and just being like, okay, how's your body feeling? Great. Okay, here's your programming. How did the
Yeah,
programming go? Great. I imagine like cups of coffee. I imagine like sit down, like long chats. I can't imagine you as like a in and out kind of coach. Is that an accurate description?
that's very accurate. Yeah. Um, I mean, Bethany is definitely a different situation just because of where she was coming from with her injuries. And we talked a lot. I mean, in the month before we even started coaching, I, I talked to her every week for about 3 hours just to try to get as much information as possible and kind of expedite the process of learning about each other.
How did
And
that? How did like? How did you get in touch with each other?
Cooper Marsh
Okay.
texted me, and I think Alexis was potentially involved. Alexis and Bethany are friends. I'm friends with Alexis, and she obviously trains here. Um, so I think there was some type of word of mouth, and I think she was also specifically looking for a female coach as well.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, we just hopped on a call and chatted. I chatted for a while with her and Randy, her husband, and then like I said, we talked for about a month, and then we started. I think the beginning of October of 2022.
And what was your what were you tasked with? Like, is it like I want to recover and I want to be able to move free? Because she did a shit ton of rehab. Like it seemed like she was just doing rehab forever. And like I remember at when she made it to semifinals, and I feel like I was the only one, but I was like, what the fuck is happening? I was like, I didn't think this was on the cards. And then when she qualified to semifinals, I was like baffled that
Yeah,
she held up through semifinals. I was like, oh well, it's all going to fall apart now. And like I wasn't wishing it on her, but just the logic in me was thinking like this can't continue. So like was the goal at the start, was it like I want to go back competing, I want to, or was it like I want to enjoy competing, or was it I just want to be able to move and not be like on my back every so often?
I think it was all of those things, but I think they had to happen in a certain order. Like, we had to get her to a point where she was healthy and enjoying training in order for her to be able to train the way she needs to train in order for her to be able to qualify. But the goal was 100% the games, but we didn't really have a timeline for that
Yeah.
happening this year. And there were certainly many times this season where I was like, okay, let's talk about the possibilities of you might not even make it through the open, much less quarterfinals, much less semifinals in the
Yeah.
games. But we were both surprised, honestly. She calls it a miracle what happened at semifinals. And I would say I never thought it was outside the realm of possibility, but I think I was like, we're either gonna qualify for the games or we're gonna withdraw in the middle of the weekend. Like, it was that
Yeah.
polarized. So
Yeah,
um
see, that's what I was thinking, and then when everyone else was like, "Oh, and Bethany Shaburn's in there," I was like, "Are we not surprised by this, though?" I was like, because I was in that, I was like, "All right, it's Saturday now." I mean, we're going to see a WD beside her name, unfortunately, I think. But that must give you great confidence as well. That like, obviously, the what seemed like a decade of rehab that she did in the last 12 months or whatever, obviously paid dividends because she made it through unscathed and is going from strength to strength.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can chalk it up to one thing. I think it's been multiple things in a series of events that have worked out in our favor. Even the programming, right? Like, I think there could have been events in there that I don't know if she would physically been able to do. So,
Yeah,
but like, I don't think you can ever count her out. It's just she's just one of those athletes that's so um, unbelievably fit and athletic and very, very competitive. So obviously there's limitations, and like, our attitude towards the season was like, we're not going to get to the point where she's training hurt. Like, that's just not an
yeah,
option. And so her health has just been the top priority. And if she feels good, we continue to go. And if she feels not good, we back off. And that's a non-negotiable. And it's worked out really well where we've just built progress extremely slowly and been very, very flexible with her plan. Like, her programming, if you were to look at it or give any other high caliber athlete her programming, like, I'm not sure if they would even have the confidence to think that they could qualify for the games, much less compete. Um, but like, it's just, I think, been a bit of a dance of figuring out what works for her and how to communicate in a way where, um, we trust each other, and I very much rely on her feedback too,
Hmm.
and, um, it's been good, but it hasn't been easy by any means.
What is the aim? Just to maintain that through the games, then to, well, I was going to say enjoy it. I mean, try and enjoy it, mainly enjoy it, and then come out unscathed, and then pull the plug if you're getting towards a point where it's not going to be unscathed. Is that the kind of idea?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I don't this games is not, I don't think we have a specific placement goal. I don't think that's even a possibility or would be realistic. Like, she hasn't physically been at the games since 2019, like, because
Yeah.
she missed out in 2021 and she participated in 2020 online. So it's like, hey, let's just get back and enjoy it, and try to get through the weekend healthy, because I think the plan is really just to build for the next year.
Hmm. Um. What about Sarah then? How did that come about?
How did I come about
Get.
coaching her?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was working with Max for a while and moved here, I think January of 2022 after Wadapalooza. And it worked out where she ended up living in my house, which was
You just
also
take them.
not
You just
planned.
take them all in.
It's been a lot. I mean, her, Alexis lived with me for a year, Lauren Fisher, Sam's been many times. I mean, I can't even count how many athletes have lived with us, but it's been nice. But so yeah, so they were working together throughout the 2022 season. Um, and the end of that season came, and I I wasn't coaching her during that process, but I was on the floor quite a bit, like helping with a lot of our on-site stuff, and obviously us living together, like, we developed a friendship and a relationship, and um, I think that she trusted me and thought that I had a good thought process around coaching, and she asked me to help her after that season, and it was good. I mean, she was pretty banged up after that last year, and so a lot of the process was working with Nick, her physio, to really
Hmm.
just get her healthy, um, and see how she could compete at Wadapalooza, which I feel like was pretty successful, and just getting through the competition healthy. Um, so yeah, so we worked together through round quarterfinals and parted ways after that, but I mean, we're still good friends and we still chat from time to time. And I love Sarah. I think she's an amazing athlete, an amazing person, and I definitely wish her the best. And I think that, I hope that she can, achieve her goals, and I'm here to support her in any way. But yeah, I'm happy just kind of being her friend now.
Was it awkward? Like when, like, did she just say like, okay, I'm gonna move in a different direction? Like how, like, because if you're the kind, again, if it's kind of the curse of being the kind of coach that you are, that like if you're like deeply rooted in the athlete that you're working in and like really entangled with it, it's obviously hard
Yeah.
to just be like, oh, okay, no problem, bye, thanks. Like,
Yeah.
please fill out this leaving form before you go. Like, you know.
Yeah, coaching, like, you're all like, the way that I coach, I like to build a relationship with the athlete, and
Yeah.
so anytime we part ways, I think it's always going to be difficult to some degree, but I also understand, like, business is business, so I try not to take things personally, and I also understand I'm not a perfect coach. Like, I have times where we get really busy and you're certainly spread thin. And there were definitely some difficult communication stuff when she moved to Dubai, and we were 12 hours difference for sure.
Mm.
It's not as easy to set up a call with somebody. Um,
Did that
but
feel, did that feel like the beginning of the end? Do you think? Did you feel like
um, I don't know. I mean, you'd
it's kind
have
of
to,
like a long distance relationship, isn't it? Oh,
yeah,
you're in a
yeah,
long distance relationship sometimes, but I don't mean it like that. But I mean like when
yeah,
you're young and you're in a long distance relationship, where like
yeah,
if you're together and then one moves apart, then you're kind of like, oh, like we'll make it work, but like deep down,
yeah.
like everyone knows really what's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would have to ask her, but
Yeah.
I would say after Wadapalooza, definitely, like, the communication was difficult for sure, and, my philosophy on training, like, given what she wanted to achieve and timelines for her to achieve certain things, might have just not been on the same page as what she wanted to do. Like,
So you wanted slower, like a slower pro.
probably, probably, but I mean, we've never really discussed that. Like, our conversation when we parted ways was, very amicable in my opinion, and we both had things that we were like, we could, I could have done better with this, and but, like, if you look at her working with Justin now, which I think is what she's probably wanted for a while, like, Max and I are just not Justin. Like, we will never be that type of personality, and he, offers a different type of energy that I don't think, like, I would ever be able to provide to somebody. And while I feel like I can be a bit of a chameleon and adjust and adapt to other athletes, I think there are some things that, um, are just ingrained in your personality and coaching style. So,
So is it um like kind of stoicism, like, or kind of like calmness? Is that what you think you
yeah.
guys have?
Yeah, I just, like
Whereas like everyone's seen the clip of Justin shouting at Ricky in the document, like it's
yeah.
that passion that like, like fucking do it, like it's a you can't like the in the right moment it gets you revved up like and it's good. Do you know what I mean? And for the right personality type, it gets you revved up and it's good.
Yeah, yeah.
But then similarly, someone like you or an approach like yours, you know, a more aggressive approach than yours could like drain someone. Like, like I can only like there's certain managers in like like in Ireland they play like hurling and football, and there's certain managers that go to different counties to manage them or coach them that last like 2 years, and then just everyone's just so fucking worn out that they're like they just they're fired or they quit, and then they go to another team who have a really successful like year, then a bit of a dodgy year, and then they go again, and then they go to, and it's just a cycle of like because it's all like shouting and passion and like walk into it, and then like it works, but then everyone's just like, man, come on, like this is a bit of an old shtick, like I can't keep putting up with this. So yeah, it's interesting. Like I guess you never really think of that. You always think of the programming first, I guess, and you think of the coaching philosophy as being that, as being like, well, what do they do or how do they like? I'll never forget seeing a clip of is it Jason Harper's doing something on the rower, and J.R. Howell, who was coaching him at the time, was watching him. I don't want to get this wrong, so if I get it wrong, I'm sorry. But Hopper does something, and it's something impressive. I can't remember. He does some kind of split that's like pretty impressive, or a time that's pretty impressive. And J.R. like scolds him for not sticking to like what he told him to do, like what times he told him to hold. And it's like, I mean, Harper's doing pretty good. Like it obviously that's like impressed daddy is kind of the I guess the relationship there or the coaching style there. So it is interesting when you look at all the different styles, I guess.
Yeah, there's definitely some I don't know if I call it inside jokes, but I think I have a bit of a reputation for people like hitting huge PRs and like I don't look impressed at all. And it's not that I'm not impressed. Like, um, I think that I mean, I've gotten very excited and expressive during competitions, like when Ashley Wozni hit a huge snatch at semifinals. Like I was jumping up and down, but I was like in the corner of a bleachers by myself. Like
Yeah.
I just I also think there is something to say for like uh, earning praise to some degree. Like it's not I don't want to award everyone for like doing a great job when some things I think should just be like you don't even have to say anything. Like that's just kind of baseline. That being said, I think it is very important to make sure that you acknowledge improvements because I don't want to be the coach where it just feels like it will never be good enough by any means. And I feel actually for the athletes at the top, a lot of what separates them isn't necessarily what they're able to do physically. It's the confidence in themselves and believing that they're very capable. And that was very important for Sarah, certainly. And I don't know if I always did a great job of reminding her that she was doing a good job. So
Yeah. Is it you kind of don't really think about the psychological side of it? Like as you say, if you if you don't think about it enough, you could give someone a complex of like it's kind
yeah,
of like parenting where like or
yeah,
teaching as well, where you accidentally bestow this like either inflated view of themselves or like deflated view of themselves just by it could be a totally innocuous action in your head where like but they could hold on to it for 6 months and be like, well, in December you did this, and it's like I didn't don't even remember that happening, or you know what I mean? It's like
yep.
yeah, it's nuts really when you start thinking about that side of things because as I say, I think I suppose I forget the human aspect and I focus on like, well, what's underdogs programming like versus think tanks programming. Do you know, I look at that side of things rather than the what's Justin like compared to Perrin or compared to Max. It's interesting. There's, I think that's Tyler actually. 5K row. So yeah, Hopper beats James Sprague time for 5K row, and JR says that wasn't your workout and walked away. Oh my god.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah, I think what you say to an athlete during competition is extremely important, and every athlete's a little bit different. So I try to ask the athlete, like, how do you like to be coached? Because that is where I would say like becoming a chameleon to some degree. Like, there are certain athletes that don't want you to talk about somebody else, right? As being their competitor. Like, oh, so and so can do this. Like, you should shoot for this. They just want to focus on themselves. And there's other people that get fired up by some of those things. So it's like
Mm,
it's very easy, I think, to say the right or the wrong thing, and the timeliness of those things also becomes super important.
yeah. Especially in that competitive environment, I guess, where you could accidentally ruin like ruin an entire like ruin an upcoming workout or ruin like the next 2 days of competition or whatever by lingering too long on a mistake they made or whatever. Yeah, it's crazy really. um you mentioned earlier on about oh, I can't remember what context you said it, but something about making mistakes and how you know, realizing that you've made a mistake or whatever in something. I think it was when you're talking about your financial job. Um, but like if you make a mistake now, not like right now, but in your current career, I mean, with say with Bethany, say you made a mistake in October, you might not realize until like next week. Like it's a long
Yeah.
time, or like by not quite like everything might look great, and if you're seeing that person in isolation or seeing numbers in isolation, you're thinking, yeah, we're on track. This is pretty good, and then she's a bad example to use because the season was so up in the air, I suppose. But you have athlete X who you're working with, and you're trying to get them. They want to make the games, and they think you see them as maybe a bubble athlete in semifinals. They could do it, whatever, and then you go to semifinals and they bomb, and then it's like, well, that's like 12 months or 6 months plus of like we've been doing something wrong, but you only find out like it's a harsh business, really. Where like from your perspective, I guess, is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole sport is harsh. Like, this sport is so unique in the sense of we're not playing the same game over and over again. So you're trying to prepare athletes for an insane amount of tests or things that could come out. And not only that, like, if you've never seen them compete before, they could be extremely prepared and fit, and they could just shit the bed because, like, you don't know how what their psychology is under pressure, or maybe you don't foresee a bad no rep in the moment and they just crumble, or like those are the things that I think you don't really learn until you actually are with the athlete through high pressure situations. And like, even in here, if we do semifinal camps or we do on-site training sessions where you're racing, you can't simulate competition. It's just not never going to be the same. And I think the benefit of coaching the same person over a long period of time is you guys learn those things together, and then you can debrief it and you can learn from the future. And I think that's been a benefit of the amount of time that I've communicated, at least with Bethany, and she did she did take a visit here early in the year, which was she got sick and was sick the whole time. So it wasn't great. But at the same time, I said, like, at the same time we talked about it, it was good in the sense where she's like, this happens sometimes where, I'm not feeling good and I'm not very happy and I don't feel like I can express myself. And it just those experiences of seeing people through their highs and lows, I think make you a better coach because you can learn from them and learn and even ask them like what are the right things to say and even just energy. Like going through semifinals with her, we kind of discussed with her and Randy, because Randy kind of helped me co-coach her, and he's actually going to be with her as her coach at the games, and I'm going to be with the team.
He's a
Because
coach too, though. He's like strength and conditioning or something, at
yeah,
like a
he's
pretty high
strength.
level. Yeah.
Yeah, for the Lakers, like he's super smart guy, awesome guy, very very calm, and Bethany says we're very similar, and I think that's why it works. Like temperament, energy. Like I'm not. If she's doing well, if she's not doing well, like I stay pretty even keeled. Like I'm not a very high and a low person. I
Yeah.
think an athlete like feels that, right? Like if you fuck up and your parents are pissed, like you feel that tension, right? And then but you also like my parents, for instance, my parents, I basically consider them hippies, like wouldn't really get that angry, like, or they would be able to compartmentalize it. And maybe that's where I get it from. But I feel like an athlete can really respond and react to those types of things. And I think maybe that would be a strength of mine where like I'm not going to get mad, I'm not going to get sad. I'll certainly be happy, but I don't necessarily always express that with yelling or like, you know, a lot of um my words usually after the fact are very like emotional and uh sentimental, but because I reflect quite a bit and I like to make sure that I express my messages after I've thought about it for a while.
Yeah.
um but yeah, so I don't even remember what the original question was.
Neither do I, but that was good. I liked. There's nothing. I didn't dislike anything you said there. Um. Okay, the programming then. So this year we have. That's actually funny because I actually wrote down. Similar to Max question mark. Quiet as a coach question mark. And it's funny that it organically came up in the middle of in the middle of that. The programming so far. So for we've got the 5K ruck. So or 5K run. So that'll be for Bethany, and then the team are doing it like basically holding hands. And then some unknown variation of Helen. Could be just Helen for all we know. Some variation of Helen. And then a gymnastics test, which is I don't even know if that is intriguing. I think everyone had worked out it was going to be a gymnastics test, and then they just said
Yeah.
like this circle with gymnastics written in it, it's going to be gymnastics. And then picture of a bike today, and they said you're going to race bikes. It's actually funny. Someone commented on the thing saying, "Oh, can we not go back to the unknown and unknowable thing? I'm sick of these clues." And I was like, "You're racing a bike. It's hardly fucking like they're hardly like pulling back the curtain and letting everyone see the whiteboard. Like it's just people are just so pissed off." Do you guys pay? Like, do you guys try to like play fortune teller? Do you try to get inside Boz's head and think about what might he do? And then when Dave came back, was it like, oh, this might change things? Or do you just kind of say like, look, we've prepared. We'll, okay, yeah, we'll go for a 5K run and we'll do it. Might do it on a treadmill, and then we might do it out and about, and then we might do it on a field or whatever. Like, how deeply do you kind of pay attention to this kind of stuff?
I mean, I definitely pay attention. I would say there's some fortune telling for sure. Like, there's no reason, like, why wouldn't you do your homework and
Yeah,
try to take educated guesses at things? But like for the games, like, we've prepared for a lot. I wouldn't say we've spent the whole year riding a bike or the whole year. I mean, you probably saw there's a paddleboard sponsor,
mm,
which I feel like I feel like that event will probably happen after cuts just due to logistics.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you just the body of tests that's happened from the beginning of the games is so expansive. Like I was doing research on the for the team events because I haven't paid attention to them as much. And like they had an event, this was hilarious. They had an event, I forget what year it was. I don't know if you remember this. They had a plexiglass wall that the teammates had to hold up, and the other teammates are doing kipping handstand push-ups on. And I was like, this is insane. Like, but if they bring this back, it'll be so amazing. And they slid it
Oh yeah, yeah.
down the field. Uh, but it's just so many things. Like you can't necessarily like maybe you could touch everything once, but I think you have to look at the team and what their strengths and their weaknesses and like maybe bias a few things where it's like, okay, we probably need a little bit more work on this. But you know, if you have somebody that is a poor swimmer, like you're not going to be able to get them to be a great swimmer in a short period of time. So like, how do you want to use your time?
Yeah. If anything, you probably just freak them out by being like, right, you're a really shit swimmer, so we need to swim like all the time. Then it's just going to be, as soon as the swimming workout comes up, they're going to be like, oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the team format's tough because typically they design workouts where like you can't really take advantage of somebody's strengths, which sometimes I feel like is unfortunate because if you have a situation where you have someone who's a really strong swimmer and you have someone who's a weak swimmer, I feel like you should be able to expose both, right?
Yeah.
Like but like even with the weightlifting total, we'll see what the format is, but I'm like, it would be kind of nice if you could have two athletes clean and jerk and two athletes snatch, and every athlete can do both their best lift, and everybody can feel like they're expressing their full capabilities instead of basically, you know, bottlenecking one potentially. So, yeah,
I
team
saw
workouts are
it
where.
was interesting. They were saying someone commented on I think Brian Friend sent in the picture of people saying or someone saying if the weightlifting event is total and then the run event is basically the like how fast can the slowest person go, so it's based off one person versus out of them all together. But then I was kind of making the point of like, and maybe this is dumb, but I was like, okay, you test all these different things on teams. Like you test how good are they at weightlifting, you test how good are they with the worm, how good are they with communicating, and you know, two people working at a time or waterfall workouts. Like you test all these different things, um, different like forms of fitness or whatever. But you're also testing like, okay, how will they react when someone's running slowly, or how and it impacts the team, or how will they react to a test where they have to stick together? Like, will they pull the slower person along, or will they drop, you know, like that kind of stuff, as opposed to just like then it's just, it becomes Hunger Games. It's like, I volunteer as tribute to do the weightlifting. It's like, I volunteer as tribute to do the run. You know, it's like a raffle or something.
Yeah, I think I go you can go so many different ways with it, but at the end of the day, I think both are necessary. Like I think
Yeah.
you need to test things where it is the strength of the team as a whole. But I also feel like it would be more fun to watch from a spectator point of view to watch team athletes perform in their best things, right?
Yeah.
Because like it's more enjoyable. Like even semifinals, like I didn't really think the team events were spectator friendly. There wasn't really racing. Like
Yeah.
and that's what I think is going to pull people in, and even spectators outside of the sport who don't know the sport, like for them to be able to even understand what's going on. Like I had people tune in to that first workout with the bike, run, sandbag, double unders, and they were like athletes here that know the sport. They'd be like, I had no idea what was going on. Like
Yeah.
it just looked like everybody was standing in the same place, like doing things.
It's the same. It was
So
the same with the box jump, where like you were kind of like, I've no idea what anyone is on or who's like, unless you're really paying attention and paying attention to the right teams from the start, you're just going to be
yeah,
lost. And like that's like watching it in person. So you're not even relying on camera angles. You're just like trying to figure out like, okay, I think they have like 25, and then but I don't know, because I was counting them, I don't know how many the other team have, so I'm just lost.
yeah,
So yeah, maybe the Hunger Games approach might be a bit better then. Maybe they should start bringing that
yeah.
in. They could
Yeah.
all do, what is it? They do that, isn't it? For yeah, that'd be good. So what's the aim for Black then? Have you got is it like just get through the cuts and then see what happens, and then try and get through the cuts and then see what happens? Is that the approach you take, or do you say like, okay, success looks like 5th or 10th or whatever?
I mean, it probably sounds cliche, but I want them to do the best they can as a team and like go into the games as the best version of their best selves and work together to try to get the best result in every event. And it's a one event at a time. Yes, obviously you'd want to get through all the cuts. Like that would mean that they are, what is it, 10, top 10. The order obviously impacts things like how people perform, and they only have one competition together unless you were to count quarterfinals, online quarterfinals. So I do feel like some of the teams that have spent a bit more time together are a bit more unified and understand their strengths and weaknesses more. And not only that, like you come into a gym and a competition and an event, each individual at a different level of readiness, I think, right? Like you can't walk into the gym every day and hit 100% of your max clean and jerk and max snatch. So really trusting each other and understanding like how you need to pace yourself to fit the strategy of the team and be honest about that and communicate with them. But so far, like last week, like they performed very, very well. I was very, very happy with the results from that. But sometimes that actually makes me uncomfortable when things go too well. Like I want things to go poorly because
You'd rather it went poorly now rather than yeah.
And that's how you learn. So, but yeah, I think them getting through all the cuts would be a fantastic result. You know, it's going to be dependent on the tests, and then obviously them maximizing their full potential in each event. So, you know, I feel good about where they are right now, and I feel like every day and every session they're getting better, and I think they have a better understanding of where they are as a team and how to communicate with each other. But it's going to be a different ball game. Like like the variety, like adding in the bike and adding in potentially swimming and stuff. It certainly changes things. I think it's better for some of our athletes and not as strong for some of our athletes. But you know, that's the games. That's part of the challenge.
If nothing else, they have the best roster of American names. If nothing else, if all else falls apart, they can, I don't know, write a country western song together or something. But I'm sure they'll do great. Listen, I've got Tyler is waiting in the wings here to just bore me to tears about Z score probably, and help me understand Heat 1. But thank you for coming on. It's been great to get to talk to you. I hope to catch up with you, Madison, next week. Best of luck to everyone that you're working with and associated with. It's going to be great. It'll be epic.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, I hope we can meet in person. And what do we got? Week? See you in a week?
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? It's like pretty recently. I remember thinking like, "Oh, the game's like 6 months away." It's like,
Are you there now, or are you still?
no, I'm at home. That's why it's
Okay.
like dark. I mean, it's like I have a light on me, so it's bright, but it's dark outside. No, I get there. I go to Chicago Sunday and Madison like Sunday evening, I think.
Cool.
That's my plan. Okay, thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
And we'll see you over there.
Sound good.
Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
All right. I get rid of you and I'll bring in you. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, no dogs, no.
No. Oh, John.
Is that John that has dogs? No,
it's it's John. No, it's John. It's always got the dogs.
Because I've seen you like turn off your mic and then turn it back on again when you're about to speak.
I turn because there's not a catalytic converter in Bloomington, Indiana. Like people drive by and it sounds like just the biggest diesel engine your entire life. And you look outside and it's like the smallest car. Like there's just no exhaust systems on cars in this town. So I just turn it off constantly.
That's pretty funny. I
I was like, why the fuck does Tyler not just put his dogs outside? It's like I couldn't understand it. Why does John not put his dogs outside? Like
I don't know. I mean, they're corgis. I don't know what his setup's like, but it's just funny because it's like every episode I'm waiting for his dogs to tune in. So
I was staring at my computer for an hour yesterday, about to go live stream. For what? For Perrin? That was always today, wasn't it? Fuck, I hope I didn't mess that up. Anyway, Heat 1. I saw, actually, sorry, when I was talking to Perrin there, she brought you up and said that one of her first things that she did at Training Think Tank, she had to do a presentation, and she did about scoring in the sport, and then she met you, and I was like, oh, he must have like...
I was there that week, I think. She had just started, and we were at a camp or something. And so I was talking to Max, and he was like, you might want to talk to Perrin, because she has this thing about rating athletes like on a 10 to 1 scale based on their abilities in certain, like, you know, monostructural weightlifting, like different abilities. And so I was interested to see how she did that and then compare it to what I was doing. So yeah, her and I have had many conversations.
God, you must have nearly left your fiance for her when you heard that.
I love Perrin. Her and I, like, when we were at JR at Crash, she had Jordan Adcock there competing. And so her and I would just talk like in between anything and like just go over how Z-Score was going. And it was interesting because that was the first time that it had been run live in person. And she was probably the person who knew most about it besides myself. And so
the most interesting thing about that is I've been calling it Z-Score.
Like,
since day one. I was also telling her how anytime anyone mentions I'll change it now. How anyone mentions Z-Score in the group chat, I say, "What's that?" Because I just feel like it's going to be a little paper cut every time. It's just going to be like, "Oh, bitch!" Like every time.
No.
Okay, so Heat 1. Is there a way for me to bring this up? No, I don't have a.
I don't think you can. I'm playing around with Adam. My developer sent me a thing today. We'll have it ready to go by the games. Do you have a Mac or do you have
that's what I was literally just like, I don't have a Mac. Okay, I can do it this way. It's going to be like pretty shit, but I can do it this way. So for anyone that doesn't know, it's basically an app. Oh, that's so blurry. It's basically an app. Heat 1, so you can get it in your app store. You can get it in the
Android store as well. Yeah,
Android if you're a loser. And then so it has shot caller events. It's actually really good. I was actually really impressed. I was looking at it the other day. When I was making that reel, was the first time I really like explored it. I was kind of like, I went in, I was like, okay, draft, like straight away when I immediately got the app, because I'm just so fucking fickle. But then I actually went into all the different things that I realized, like on shot caller, for example. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but on shot caller, these things up here at the top are like the days. So like Friday, and then you go in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, go across the way, and it has like, that's really good. I really
just
like
those
that.
events. Yeah.
So you got shot caller, which is basically, okay, the 5K run, what guy do I think is going to win? What girl do I think is going to win? You just pick those. And then can you pick those again afterwards?
Only twice. So you only get 2 plays per athlete.
Okay.
So it's going to be really interesting. I mean, Brian and I were talking about it this morning. Brian Friend, you have the cuts to worry about. So you don't want to, like, your go-to is like, I'm probably going to play Justin on the last 2 days because I know he's not going to get cut. And so I'll save him for then. But you also have the scoring to worry about too now, because if you get 5th in the front half of the week, that 5th point, because it's scored on points, the points for 5th place in the front half are more than the points in 5th on the back half. So you may not be optimizing your points if you don't play them in the front. So there's multiple ways to go about it now, and it's like, I don't
even
like
you
cuts.
could hold an athlete and say, I'm gonna hold on to them until X event, but then they get cut, and you're like, fuck, why didn't I pick them?
Right. And so I don't like cuts, but it does make the fantasy app more exciting.
Yeah, that's I mean, Dave said in his video last week that's the only reason he bought it back was because for Heat 1. We can if we can edit
I
that
did hear
in.
him say that.
If we can edit that, where it's just like, and I've been asked lots of times about the cutout. Heat 1 was the only reason I brought it back. I just really poorly dubbed.
Pause the video and like I just say it.
Okay, so I tested. I was one of a group lucky enough to test like the early iteration of this in semifinals, and like we chatted afterwards, and I was like, yeah, it's good. Like I like it. Like a couple of clunky bits or a couple like it's drastically improved. I think there was nothing particularly wrong with it.
I think we had been going for like maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah,
when you tested it,
but it wasn't even bad. Like
right.
And I don't mean this to sound mean, but like Will was right. Like compared to lawn chair leaderboarding, it was like leaps and bounds ahead of that. Like lawn chair leaderboarding was rough.
I make the joke with Adam. It was like we set the bar so low so that if we even just step over it barely, we're like, look at how good we are. It was so bad. I mean, it was good. It was the good first draft, but it was really rough for a lot of people. The only good thing, one of the good things about it was that you could access it on any platform because it was a website. It wasn't an app. And so that's been more difficult on this go round. But overall, I think the reviews have been just way better.
But people are way more likely to play it if it's an app.
Yes.
Like way more likely. Like Hiller sent me that audiobook. I can't remember the fucking name of it, the YouTube something formula.
Yeah.
And is it Mr. Beast or someone writes a forward? And I didn't realize it was a forward because it's just the narrator's reading it. And then it's only at the very end that I'm like, oh, that's obviously a forward because he signs off at the end. But like, when you don't have the book in front of you, you can't really see what's happening. But he said he made an app that was called Finger on It or something, or I can't remember. But he was like, basically the app was that at a certain time, the app would, like everyone download the app, and at a certain time the app would open and people put their finger on the app. And whoever kept their finger on the app last won $25,000. And he was like, it was nuts how many people downloaded it. He said there was some other company launched an app and had a $2.2 billion budget for advertising. And in the first day, they got 3,000 downloads of the app. And in the first day, he got like 300,000 or something, like nuts. But yeah, he was like kind of making the point that, it's just where do you funnel your money is what makes the difference. But also it's like, if it's an app, like he was like, people are watching a movie or watching whatever and something comes on, the first thing they go for is their phone. So like, if I know I have to do a fantasy draft and I'm, say, for example, in the toilet and I'm like, oh, I need to do my fantasy draft, I can just pull out my phone and do it and not be like, I better remind myself. I hear the cars now. I better remind myself. I better remind myself when I go back out to get my laptop out, open my laptop, turn it on, go on to it. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just the app makes it so much more accessible.
Yeah. So you're kind of speaking. I want to hit on something you were saying earlier, where it's like there's so many features in it. Like it gets even crazier whenever the leaderboard actually starts to update and there's points to compare, because like you can click on, and this is something we're going to try to push, is Brian's in the worldwide leagues, right? Brian Friend. And it's like, he's definitely the top analyst in the sport. I don't know who's better than him. I don't. And so people can compare, they can click on his face and their scores and plays will come across with his. And they can see, oh, he played this person in this event and I played this and he got 5 points on me here. Right. Yeah. And so once that happens, it's going to be really addicting. And what's crazy is that this morning I was talking to Adam, my partner, and we had just started doing analytics on the back end, seeing where people spend all their time in the app. People are already spending like 5 minutes every time they go to the app looking at the leaderboard, and there's nothing on the leaderboard. There's just names.
Oh, I've done that though.
Oh yeah, I've done.
What happens is
I do it, but it's my
you see one name
right
that you recognize, and then you're like, who the fuck else is in here? Or like one name, and you're like, what are they doing here? Like, I didn't know they were doing this. And then you're like, oh, I wonder who else. Like, Will comes up as number 3 for me every time I open the app.
Yeah.
So it's like a reminder of like, oh, I must check who else is on it. Like when I see his face, I'm like, who else is down here? And I keep going. Then the next time I open the app, I'm like, oh, there's another 200. I better just check. And it's like, there's 1,000 people on it. So you're just like scrolling and scrolling.
Yeah.
So it's no wonder it takes 5 minutes.
Anthony Davis joined this morning. I didn't know. My partner told me. I was like, man, I'm starting to miss them now. Like I need to go back through slower.
Yeah. Okay. So the struggles of setting it up, is it like, Okay, so fantasy, this kind of thing has been done in other sports like really successfully. Like there's comedy TV shows made about fantasy football drafts in America, like that I've seen, and I live in Ireland. So like even like that side of things, like Premier League in football in the UK, same thing. They've got like fantasy leagues, whatever. They've got podcasts about fantasy league. They've got articles about fantasy league. In CrossFit, there is availability of fantasy based games that I've always gotten excited about, and then started doing it, and then being like, I don't like this. Like, it's not. So is that the struggle? Is the struggle convincing people that like this is a fun thing to do and you like it? Is that where you think the struggle has been?
I think the struggle for us is how small CrossFit is. So to sort of answer your question directly, I've made a game. So there are competition. There are businesses out there that are in competition with us, right? And I think that what other people are doing wrong is fantasy is really complicated. Did you get upset by how complicated other fantasy apps were? Like you had to play certain things, or you felt like you didn't know enough.
Yeah, like there's certain games that I just don't understand because I don't
Right.
do fantasy football. I like, as in I'd never done it.
Right.
So then they'd have things called certain things, and I'd be like, I
Yes.
don't know what that means. And then they'd be like, oh, and this is like I had never heard of snake draft until you guys did a snake draft on Savannah's show. I never knew. And obviously when I heard it and saw it, like by the time the second person picked,
Right.
I was like, oh, it obviously goes down and then back up the other way.
Right.
But like
Yeah.
I'd never heard of it. It meant nothing to me. So like if a phrase that's that basic didn't land
like
with me.
salary cap, right? You
Yeah.
hear the word salary cap, that's a big feature in every other fantasy game. It's like salary cap. And it's like, that just doesn't work here. Number one, it doesn't work because we don't know what the players are worth. But number two, the fans don't know what that means. I don't think CrossFit fans really give a shit about other sports. Like a lot of them, like I played football in college and I don't watch football anymore. I like competing. I don't like watching stuff. And I think a lot of the fan base in CrossFit's like that. We like CrossFit. And so the struggle for us is not getting people in and keeping them entertained, because
no, that's so that's the downstairs. This is great audio. The downstairs toilet, in our bathroom. There's like an airlock or something. I actually don't know what it is, but if you flush the toilet, I think too much or not enough water comes in through, the pump or whatever,
right?
And it just the whole fucking house like vibrate. I remember the first day it happened, we were like, the stairs are gonna fall because it's under the stairs,
right?
But like, what I did was, you got those scented incense sticks that you'd stick them in a jar, and they're like kind of made of wood. So what I did was I opened the cistern and just jammed one in behind the ball cock or whatever, that like bobs.
Yeah.
And it stopped it. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was just like, fuck this. And I shoved it in. It stopped it for 6 months. There was no noise. But I heard, like 2 days ago, I heard the stick snap. So I know, I was like waiting. I've been waiting for that to happen for about 2 days. Sorry, continue.
No, it's all good. So I think once fans are in, the games are so simple. Pick your top 10. There's a top 10 game, and then there's a shot caller game. And the shot caller game is play who you like, and you get their points. And it's like the only caveat to that is you only get 2 plays per. Like, that's not complicated. What don't you understand in that equation? And then
I thought it was over.
It's gonna get worse. I know it. And then there's God, I've lost my train of thought. So that's pretty easy. I don't think keeping people in, and then like people love leaderboarding. Like during semifinals, during the open, what do people do all the time? They just refresh the leaderboard, see where they're at. And you're going to get to do that for yourself during the games, which is not an experience anybody's had unless you're an athlete. Right. And then so
just keep talking.
Yeah. So I think the hurdle.
Can I ask if I'm talking, you won't be able to hear it. Can I ask? Oh, here, let's Danny. Can you hear this? It's gone higher pitched. It's nearly full. It's gonna stop. Can you? So say if me and you are playing a shot caller game, and event 1 is whatever, Thursday morning 9 a.m. It's gone now, and I pick. Can you see when can I see who you've picked, and when can you see who I've picked?
After the start of the event. So
So
we
it could
keep
be like
those
3, 2, 1
hidden.
beep, and then I can see it like
Yeah.
you know, pretty soon after that. So then you'll have that immediate either regret
Right.
or elation where you're like, "Fuck, I never thought of that guy," or
Right.
like, "Ah, eat it, bitch!" Like, and then and then you have your falling flat.
Yes.
I think the good
Yeah,
thing as
so
well, the good thing
immediately.
about apps like this or games like this is that everybody thinks they know. Like everybody thinks like if you've ever seen any of Brian Friend's predictions, it's full of comments underneath. They've kind of dried up now because Brian just doesn't fucking hang around for it. And he's just like, okay, who do you take out? And then they go quiet. But like people are
Right.
always like, oh, you didn't include this guy, this girl, and this guy. And it's like, okay, so do you want me to take out like Hopper? Who do you want me to remove? So I
Right.
think people do think they're smart. People do think they're smarter than other people. People always look for a way to prove that they're smarter than other people. And then people have, and I include myself in this, every year I pick a team for fantasy football, like Premier League football, like soccer, not American football. And every year I spend about 4 days thinking of a team name because it has to be like a pun based on a player's name or a manager's name. And then I pick my team, I
And then you
click
forget.
it, and I'm like, this is like nobody is going to come close to this team. Nobody. And every year I finish in last place in a 6-man league. Like every year. And like everyone else in the league is like, I don't understand it because you do pick a good team. But it's just like on
Right.
paper, your team is really good. But it's like you're picking like too logically or something. Because other people,
Right.
obviously you can't really do that in this app. But what other people do is they pick, they wait till like week 3. And then they just look at who's winning the worldwide. And then they just try to copy as much as their players as they can.
Sure.
But obviously you can't do that in this.
No. Yeah, I have a similar situation. It's like every game we've been playing this since launch year leaderboarding. And it's like every game I play, I come out so hot and I'm in the lead for like a while. I start talking shit to Brian. I start talking shit to JR. And then the last day, they're like, you thought you knew anything about the sport. And then they make me look so stupid and I finish almost last every time. And I make asinine picks just for the fun of it too. Like it's just fun for me.
Well, Hiller famously picks his based off Instagram followers.
He won the games using that freaking, like when we played the games on launch year leaderboarding, he used that framework and won.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Prizes. What's up for grabs? What can people win, or what's the story there?
So on the top 10, the person who wins top 10 will get a pair of shoes. That's our easy game. I do want to give people prizes for it, but it's set and forget. You don't have to play as much. The shot collar is the one with bigger prizes. So Strike Movement, we partner with Strike Movement. They're going to give the top 3 people shoes, and then every day, people will have the best picks, and it's like, so you can be a winner of that day, right? Maybe not overall, but you were just a winner that day. You made all the right picks that day. You'll get a pair of shoes too. So each day there'll be a shoe winner there. And then C4, we've yet to figure out what we're going to do with C4, but they've become a sponsor as well. And so we're going to give out some C4 prizes.
That's cool.
Get everybody jacked up.
Yeah. Just making ridiculous picks.
Right. That's
like,
the get them all jacked up on caffeine or they're not making any sense.
And like, is there, so is that the best feature of the app you think that people obviously can't experience yet because it hasn't kicked off yet? Is that the thing you think people are going to like the most, clicking on Hiller's face, seeing who he's picked, comparing your picks to his picks?
Yeah, I think this go, that'll be the big feature. And I think it'll probably always be the big feature. People are already spending 4 minutes on that page every time they access the app.
Yeah,
it's so wild to me. I'm like, there's nothing there. I think in the future, so we're gonna start adding in a lot more athlete stats. We're gonna pull up their histories. Like you'll be able to click, like, I don't know if I want Tia more or do I want so and so more of this, and you can click their profile and applicable events will come up and be like,
wow.
How did they do
I was going to say,
if
if you can do it to actual relevant things, that would be impressive.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is there a limit to what you can put in it? Because if there's like 1,000 people plus on it, and then you have all the data that you want to add in of like the athletes and stuff, is there a cap? Like, does it come to?
I mean, there's always more data costs, but I think the way that you keep that data cost down is keeping that stuff only callable. So it's like you don't keep that stuff running in the background. You just make it to where people can reference it. And so it sort of stays dormant until somebody says, hey, I need this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So no, I mean, like you can pretty much build that out pretty crazy. We've already started doing some of that stuff. So we have Brian.
Yeah, the
like if you
worldwide
go on the
rankings
top,
Brian's,
yeah, they're actually filtered on average draft pick right now. So, and that's auto updating. So every time somebody drafts in the top 10, if you go to like maybe there's a league that you haven't played in yet, you should be in the pro league. If you go to the pro league,
I'm in top 10 world champ, shot caller, barbell spin, and Savannah shot caller.
Okay, I'll get you added to the top 10 league. So,
it has to be one that I can't see based off my picks.
If you've already put them in, you won't be able to see it. But the average draft pick will populate
I
based
made such a
on
big mistake. I scrolled down, so I have my 10 picked, and I scrolled past. You know the way it has the options that you haven't used beneath.
Yeah.
Like, and I scrolled past into the dormant athletes, say, and I was like, "Oh fuck, maybe we should add him in." You know, like I've already lost confidence.
You're right.
I picked that top 10 in about 5 minutes, and I've already lost confidence in it.
Yeah, but you can see on next to their name, the ADP is like that's what people are drafting live. Like that's what the average of everybody.
Okay, so Lazar Djukic 14.6, so 14% people.
No, that's like that would be his score. So on average, people are playing him 14th to finish 14th. But you have to check. Like I think Justin's like 2 point something, but he has the highest score on that, so he's getting first.
How do you? But if people are only picking 10, how is Lazar being picked in 14th?
I don't know. I think it's like an aggregate score somehow. I can't remember how Adam calculates it, but
wow, that's actually pretty impressive. So Be Friendly rating for Colton Mertens is 37, and then the ADP is 38.1. That's pretty close.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting distracted now.
No, it's okay. This is the point. I want people to go in and look. So
great.
yeah.
Another reason for me to have a fight with my wife about screen time.
And then eventually what we want to do is we want to, like, there was a reason a lot of people were like, well, why didn't you label it like, you know, something fantasy, whatever, fantasy barbell, fantasy something. It's like, because we don't only want to be a fantasy app. We want to push into the realm of knowing how fast athletes are moving. We want to be sort of science-based. And so I think, you know, once we get some people on board, we're going to start putting cameras out at events and timing how athletes move and their break times. And then you can figure out, actually, Tia has a cycle rate on this workout, and, you know, Brooke has a cycle rate on this workout, and it's faster, actually. So I think I'm going to play Brooke over Tia on this based on historical data. So that'll be a big move, but that's sort of what we're planning to go to.
What's really remarkable about that is that even with all of that at my fingertips, I will still purely go on gut.
I know.
Still be like,
I know,
definitely. Like I hear, like, there's been so many times where, especially when I was in Berlin, where Savan would ask a question and he put it to me first, of like, and who do you think is going? I'd be like, in my head, I'd be like, don't say that person because everyone else on this will think it's dumb. But I'm like, I think that person's going to do well because I like them.
I have to. You have to. It's like that's sort of my feeling with Jason. Like, I think Jason can actually win the games. I really do, but it's a really bold pick, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
The stars need to align in a big way, basically.
Right.
But he could do it. Yeah.
He could do it. And I'm like,
that's a possibility, like, but yeah.
Fuck it, all in. That's how I am about it.
Okay, so that's really cool. So, and what does that require then? Does that require like support, investment, extra staff? That sounds like it's a lot of work.
Yeah, that's like a third wave deal. Like once we get the app built and we're starting to bring revenue in, that's what we'll move into.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't understand Bernie's comments. Can you see the comments? So the first one is no regrets. I'm wondering, is that just in reference to how you talk? That's what I'm thinking. That
could be. Maybe I look like that cat.
And then the second one, sounds like you guys should stick to index funds. I don't get that. Do you get that?
I don't get that either.
Do you work in finance?
I do, but I don't
index
get
funds in finance.
Yeah, But I
Okay,
don't get
maybe
why
so.
he's making that joke. But okay,
I don't get it either. And then swinging for the fences, don't be a sheep. So that's I think
sounds like a bot. Bernie, are you a bot?
I think that's a positive one. He kind of looks like fuck, what's your
Travis?
man's name in Zoolander?
Oh,
Ben Stiller.
yeah.
It looks like Ben Stiller. Anyway, I don't know. Bernie, can
Thank
you
you,
just tell us if
Bernie.
you're being insulting or not being insulting? Okay, so the aim for this year then, have you blown past the number that you had in your head, or have you got a number of people that you want to play?
I
Is it
told
like
Brian.
is it a moving goalpost?
Yeah, it's always. I'm such a cheater. Brian said, "Oh, how are you feeling about it?" And I was like, I sort of wobble between happy that 50 people are playing and upset that 10,000 people aren't playing. Like I'm so bipolar when it comes to this. The realistic goal I have is 3K. I am totally happy with where we are.
What are you on now?
We're somewhere around 1,300.
Okay.
In 5 days, and so
And
it's
like it's gonna ramp up as well as it gets closer.
Yeah, I think once we do Savon show, it'll just, I think 1,000 people will sign up within the next day.
All right, okay, fuck you, Tyler. You're doing my show now, and you're talking about.
No, I'm really stoked because like Europe, I am worried about the fact that you're like Europe. It's fantasy's not as popular over there, correct?
Yeah, like it is soccer, like football.
Mm-hmm.
And like there definitely is some pockets of people who like NFL and like follow football and whatever, but like I don't think it's as popular. Like a lot of people in the UK and Ireland play fantasy football. But I think it's funny because CrossFit is such a niche that like you already have a small population. So like if you're gearing something, like someone told me that before, they were like, oh, you shouldn't just do CrossFit interviews, you should branch out and do like other sports and do other whatever. And I was like, yeah,
Flat
like, but
earthers.
yeah, I was like, I just really like CrossFit though.
Right?
It's like I just really like it. And it's like I think if I wanted this to be a job, I'd need to do that. Like if I wanted to, I would need to be talking to people outside of the sport of CrossFit and like, football or whatever, like branching out a bit, or maybe even not just
Sure.
sports people or whatever. But I'm drawn to CrossFit and CrossFitters. But yeah, so it's such a niche market from the get-go. Then when you zone in on who likes the sport out of that market, it's a smaller market again. Then when you zone in on who like actively follows the sport like year in year out, it's a smaller group again. And then who's going to download an app and play a fantasy league out of that group is also a smaller. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so it constantly gets smaller. So it's this very small pool.
That's why we made the game so simple. It's because you'll have. I think I've seen the live views at Wadapalooza around 200,000, right? And it's like, okay, that's a decent pool of people watching live, right? And so we have to access as much of that market as possible. That's really our key market. And so the people there, which are around 10,000 at Wadapalooza, and then the 200,000 that are watching live, okay, that's a pretty good amount. And if we can get upwards of 50%, we're solid. That's a really good play pool. And so yeah, that we accomplished that with making the game simple.
Yeah, if I can understand it. Job
like
done.
You're saying that you've played other fantasy sports. I've only played other fantasy sports to do research. Like I've only done it because of this app.
Yeah.
I don't like other fantasy apps. I think they're complicated. I then have to pay such close attention to the sport that I'm like, I have too many hobbies already. I don't have time to watch baseball 18 hours a week.
Yeah,
Like,
it's the same like with football here, like soccer. There's a match every week. Sometimes there's 2 matches in a week.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff. Although one thing that could be cool for you to do in the future, maybe that they do in like the Premier League fantasy is, so they have you wouldn't really be able to do this. There's a couple of things you would be able to do and a couple of things you wouldn't. So one is you pick 11 players, obviously, and then you got 4 subs, a goalie and 3 outfield players on your bench. And the ones on the field are the ones that get the points. And you pick a captain. This is something you could do. You pick a captain, and that captain gets double points. But then if that captain gives away a penalty or whatever, they obviously lose points.
Right.
So they lose double points. If they like get sent off, they go -4 instead of
So
-2.
if you withdrew from the competition, it would just tank your score.
Yeah, you just lose 10 points straight away. Or if you came like bottom 5 in a workout or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And then another thing they do is they do like bench play, which means everyone plays, including your bench.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing they do is triple captain. So instead of your captain getting double points, they get triple points. But the risk there is that if they don't play or whatever, you're just on 0.
Yeah.
Okay. And if they play and bomb, you get triple the negativity that you would have gotten. So like it's fun. Like there is that aspect. And then there's also the thing of like, maybe there's a workout that you think, oh, Justin's gonna fucking storm this. I'm gonna play my star with him. You'd have to call it, you couldn't call it captain because it's not a team. You'd be like, oh, I'm gonna play my like whatever fucking power up or whatever with Justin, and then he just sits in the middle of the pack because he's holding himself. He's like he has a bad start, or maybe he's thinking about the next event or something. I don't know, whatever. And then you've shit the bed because you've wasted your. And then other people hold on to it till the last day because they're like, well, but other people shit the bed and play it early because they're like, well, I want to be top of the league by, I'm going to play my little power packs early or whatever. So yeah, they're cool.
Yeah.
They're cool little things.
I mean, you start to get into the spot bets kind of stuff, and it's like that's why we want to do the studying athletes and how they move, is because then I can say, hey, Justin will probably finish this workout, or the field will probably finish this workout somewhere around 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what are the chances? You can start doing like you get 5 points if Justin does it in under 9 minutes. 3 points if he does it between 9 and 10, and then 0 points if he does it in more than 10, or whatever. You could start playing games like that, and that's the stuff we really want to get into. And then something I was on the PRs All Day podcast earlier this morning, and the thing that I really want to do is like, do you all play Pokemon Go over there?
What are you gonna do? Catch Justin?
No, the guy who designed that, like, it's always been their sort of goal in Pokemon is to get people outside and interact.
Yeah.
Right. And when I absorbed last year, have you been to the games?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you're sitting around 10 people, and most of them you don't know if you're in the stands. And so you all just kind of start talking, and you're like, who do you think is going to get this next one in this heat? And it's like you start picking people, right? And so what I want to do is get it to where you can go to your section, scan the barcode, and then you're playing people in your section.
Oh,
so you can start talking shit with the people that you don't know. And it's like, so I want to build that into the
like
game.
Stand up like, who's Jerry? Which one of you is Jerry?
I mean, you could do cool stuff like that. It's like you could take each section leader and and then on the last day, the section leaders are only playing each other, and you can give away prizes based on that. So it's just like, I want it to be more community driven, and so this is the small start for that.
I'll give some of the last words to Bernie. He actually fixed what it is. So he was saying, first he said, when you make picks, you almost immediately have regrets. So he's saying no regrets.
No, I got you.
Then he's saying that because our picks are so shit, we should, instead of picking individuals, play it like the stock market. And he said you should go against the grain, swing for the fences and not be a sheep. Yeah, okay. I kind of feel bad now. Listen, I'm going to go because I'm tired and I've been talking for about 2 hours. But thank you for coming on. It's been great to get to chat to you. I've loved getting to know you as well. And I wish you every success with the app and everything. I'll be playing it anyway. There's Bob. Look, loves fan, but I'll be signing up now because CPW. So there you go. That's 1. So now you're on 12:51. Best luck at it, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, next week. Crazy. Yeah, we'll be hanging out. Come see us, both of us, at the Go Wad event.
Excellent.
That'll be huge because we'll both be hanging out there. So yeah.
So if you and in because I had kind of trouble finding it one day. So it's HEAT and then the number 1.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not HEATONE because nothing comes up if you do that.
It's like Paper Street
1, and there's no space between the heat and the 1. It's like T and then immediately the numeral 1. So you can go down on it now, and then put it up in your story, and then tag me and tag Tyler, and I'll give I'll give 2 $100 LSKD vouchers to someone in the next 48
50
hours.
seconds.
50 seconds. I'll give out 2 $100 LSKD vouchers to 2 people in the next 48 hours. This is coming out on Wednesday in audio. So I'll say by Friday, I'll pick 2 people who tag me, and if you can find Tyler, if you follow Tyler,
Heat1.app.
at heat1.app, and if you tag at coffeepods and wads on Instagram, share your story of the app either on your homepage or you playing the app, and I'll give out 2 $100 LSKD vouchers for that.
That's awesome. Thank you.
No problem. My pleasure.